Okay, so we've already spoken a little bit about the bone tool. This is the bone tool, and we're going to use it in two different ways, and this is what we did before the break. We took a shape that was not a symbol, and we drew several bones inside of that shape. And then we took a shape that was a symbol, used several instances of that symbol, and connected those symbols with bones. So the two different ways you can use the bone tool, simply, is you can draw bones inside a shape like this, and then you can insert what's called a pose. Take your black arrow and bend the shape. And that'll do exactly what you asked it to do. The other way you can use the bone tool, and you see, look, that moved that onto the armature layer. Layer 1 still has, let me hide this, my symbols. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on these. These are 4 instances of the same symbol. They're all this graphic over here. I'm going to take my bones and I'm going to connect them. 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3 to 4. That put all 4 of those on an armature layer. If you actually hid layer 1, you wouldn't miss anything. So on this armature layer, if you insert a pose, just like that, F6 does the same trick, you can move these shapes. The first one stays put. That's the pivot point around which all these bones go, right here. That one stays put, but everything else moves. And if I played it back, it would bend just like I asked it to. If I got both of these visible, oops, let me make them visible. If I got both of them visible, what it could do is show both of those moves. And the assignment you're going to do involves a file I've got for you. It's called Dancer. And the Dancer file has the right hand, the right foot, left foot, all these different pieces that you're going to use to make a little stick figure man. But it doesn't have a head. I've already converted these to a symbol. They are, in fact, movie clips. It says it way the heck over here. But you should be able to tell that by looking at this graphic. You can go ahead and put him together. I'm going to take his torso and his pelvis, and I'm going to finish building him real quick while I pause the film. All right, I've gone ahead and assembled my guy here, and just so you can see it a little better, I'm actually going to change the stage color to something that's a little more contrasting with the yellow arms. How's about... Oh, that makes his legs disappear. How about this really obnoxious bright green? Yeah, it's a little much. But there it is. I've got my entire body, except I don't have a head. In this library, there's no head. What I asked you guys to do last week was to cut out someone's head. And we've got this as a PNG file. Now, if you didn't save it as a PNG file, you can go ahead into Photoshop and save as a PNG. The reason it's important that it's a PNG is because sometimes when it's a JPEG or another file format, there's a white box around the outside. With a PNG, the background is transparent. What I want to do is pull this PNG into my library. And you can go to File, Import, Import to Library. Easy enough. Or actually, I'm showing you something new here. You can drag it over and drop it into the library. And it goes real easily. There it is. And you see how there's no white box around it. It's one of the reasons I wanted to change my stage color so you could see what I was talking about. If I drag this to the stage and drop it, first of all, it's a little large. I might want to use Free Transform. Bring it down in size a little, holding Shift and grabbing the corner so that it stays constrained to the right properties. The other thing you might want to do after you get that, or you're going to have to do actually, is you're going to have to convert it to a symbol. If you don't do that, it won't connect to the rest of the body. It's going to look very, very strange when the body starts dancing and the head disappears. So you need to go to Modify Convert to Symbol, or you can press F8. And if you want it to match everything else in the movie, you can make it a movie clip. Honestly, it's going to work no matter what kind of symbol you make it, but let's just go ahead and be consistent. Make it a movie clip. There it is. The next piece of this, everything's on layer 1, right, is we're going to start making bones. Starting in the middle of his body, right in the torso, right where if you were doing CPR, you would press, right? You're going to click right here and drag and drop it right on his chin. I want you, when you're building these bones, to try to get just to the very beginning of the next symbol. If you go to the center, look, watch. If you go to the beginning, that's what I'm talking about. If you go to the center, it's right there. If you go just to the beginning, it's actually going to animate more smoothly. So you're going to go from here, from this to the beginning of this one, and from this to the beginning of this one. So go ahead and connect all your pieces with bones, making sure you go from the center mass here to the beginning of this bone, symbol rather, and the beginning of the symbol. And there we go. There I'm actually going to go to the middle of the pelvis. It'll just animate by that way, but then the beginning of each piece of the legs. So there it is. And you certainly don't have to zoom in this far. I thought it would just be helpful if you could see it more clearly. When you have all the bones constructed there, if you hide the armature layer, you'll be able to see that everything is on that layer. If you hide layer 1, nothing is on layer 1. You're going to make your guy dance. Now you're going to want him or her, sorry, could be a lady, you're going to want your person dancing for 30 seconds. Currently, let me look at this real quick, my film is 0.0 seconds long. It needs to be a little longer than that. So what I want to do is figure out what my frame rate is, how many frames per second my movie plays at, and how many frames I'm going to need to make it 30 seconds. Okay, so for reasons I don't entirely understand, it's going to be 450 frames at 15 frames per second. It's a lot of math for me. So what I want you to do is, first of all, I want you to set your frame rate. Frame rate is FPS, frames per second. If you don't see that right here, make sure you're on your black arrow and make sure you've clicked away. So if you clicked on something, it's actually going to give you the properties for the thing you clicked on. If you click off to the side, it's going to give you the properties for the entire movie. If I set FPS to 15, just like that, that'll play it back pretty slow. If you leave it at a higher number, you're just going to need more frames. So in order so that it doesn't go thousands upon thousands of frames, we're going to set it to 15 frames per second to simplify our lives. Now through trial and error, I just figured out that if I go all the way over here to 450, and I throw in a pose, ooh, it's 29.9. Dang it. Let me try 451. Exactly 30 seconds. You can see that right down there at the bottom. It tells you precisely how long this is going to go. So what I have so far is at the end of this movie, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is standing like this. And at the beginning, he's also standing like this. What I want you to do is go through and insert a series of poses. I'm going to want at least 6 additional poses in addition to him standing still at the beginning and standing still at the end. You want to throw 6 other poses in there. So let's just go ahead and throw them in. You can be mathematical about it. You can be random about it. I am not particular about that. But if I click right here on frame 30, you can, if you wish, right-click and insert a pose. You actually probably don't need to, but go ahead and just take your black arrow and move some of these parts around. Get him dancing. You're going to see in just a minute that this is kind of funny. Right? So now when he dances, he's going to go like this. You can put in 6 poses. If I just click right here and move him again, you see how it automatically builds a pose. That's a pretty neat trick too. Now, a lot of people, as they're doing this, find that weird stuff happens, like the arm goes entirely to the wrong side of the body. This is where you can add the constraint portion of this the bone tool. You can tell it to constrain a certain way. And I'm going to get to that real quick. If I just do this on one of the knees, I'll show you what it does. Right here. This knee will be able to spin all the way around. That is not how legs work. But if you wanted to constrain it so that it wouldn't spin all the way around, you can click on this bone right here and go to your properties. And then you can tell it the joint rotates. Yes, it's enabled to rotate, but you can constrain it. Now, and I'm going to zoom way in, it's only going to bend this far. From here to here, it won't bend any farther. The rest of the leg might bend farther, but this actually bends like a knee now. This one. Let's constrain this one. So now, this leg, I'll zoom out a little, only bends like a leg would bend. It may still flip all the way around, but we didn't constrain that middle one. We just constrained the knee and the hip, right? Or the knee and the, yeah. So If you wish, you can constrain your joints. That might be a helpful thing to make your person dance more effectively, because this is not realistic. But if you think it's funny, yeah, go for it. All right. Let me make a few more of these. All right, so I've put in all my poses, and I'm going to go ahead and just zip through this real fast, show you how Dwayne dances here. Fine dancer is he. Spun him around. And that's pretty neat. The next couple of things you want to do to this are to add music and to put in a background image. So here's the song I'm going to do, and here's the 30-second marker. And if you're not sure, see, look right here, 30 seconds. Highlight everything after that. Delete it with your backspace or your delete key, and you can fade it out. Remember, in Audition, you just go to File and you can go to Save As. You have to browse for your folder. And when you get to your folder, you're going to put it under your name. But I'm going to go ahead and just call this Canned Heat. That's the name of the song. And I'm going to make it a WAV file, just real quick. WAV right here, WAV. Saving that. Say OK, and it goes right to where I told it. And in my case, I just threw it on the desktop. It's right there. Oh, that's the WAV file, rather. So I'm going to import that. You can either drag it to the library or you can go to File, Import, just like I showed you before. I'm going to drag it to the library because it's kind of convenient. And when you do that, there it is. There's my file. I'm going to make a new layer to put this in. Let me let you see where the layers panel is, where we make a new layer. It's right down there. And that layer, I'm going to drag the music and drop it. And remember, you don't see the music on the stage, but you do see it on the timeline. So when you play it back, you should have some awesome music. There you go. Now, to put the background picture in, I'm going to get to that in just a moment. I went ahead and found the picture I wanted, and I saved it. And that is going to go on a layer that's below the armature layer. So if you want to use layer 1, make sure you make a keyframe to extend it out to the right amount of time. If you want to use a different layer, go for it. But I'm going to go ahead and use layer 1 because it's sitting there empty, nothing going on. I'm not going to make my keyframe yet, though, so I'm going to come back to frame 1. And I'm going to put that picture into my library. It's right there. And I'm going to say on layer 1, I've got my picture. I'm going to drag it and drop it. It's a little large. Go ahead and resize it if you need to. You see how it went behind my dancer, right? Actually, the best way to resize this, and I continuously forget to tell you this, is under Properties. Because my stage is 640 by 480. My picture, I can just tell to be 640 by 480, right? I think yours actually defaults to 550 by 400, but whatever your stage is, that's what you want to make this. And if you want it to be perfectly lined up, you can change the X and Y axes so that it perfectly lines up into that corner. Now I've got it. But the problem is, if I start playing this back, it's going to be on there for only one frame, and then it's going to blink out of existence, which is annoying. So if I played this, gone. What I need you to do at this point, after you place the image, is I need you to go and make a keyframe way over here at the very tail end that's equal to every other layer of your movie. I insert a keyframe. Now he's dancing. So make sure you do all of that, and when you finish it up, you're going to go to File, and you're going to Save As, of course, but you're also going to export this. I'm sorry, publish this. I apologize. Publish this out so you can have it as an SWF and an HTML file. If you have that, if you have your dancer and all the bones are connected and it has 6 different poses and you have a 30-second audio clip and you have a background picture behind your dancer while he's dancing the whole time, then I think you're ready for a grade. Let me know and I'll come by and take a look at it.